Good morning, Jen.
Good morning, Stephanie. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's going to be
We
a
made
warm
it.
one today. Is it going
Oh,
to be warm? I'm sure it's going to be warm where you are too.
always warm here. It's always warm. But where my office is, has its own air condition, and
Nice.
it is nice, but I go in and out on if I'm too cold. And so sometimes my husband
Yes.
will come home from work and I'm like wrapped in a blanket and a jacket. He goes, "It's 100 outside." I said, "I'm so cold."
Yes. When I
I'm
lived in
so
the
cold.
Midwest and had a basement, that was a problem. Like my office was in the basement and the basement would get just really chilly. The air would
Oh,
be running upstairs, but the
mm.
basement would be chilly. So I
Mhm.
can
Yeah,
relate to
it's
that a
this
little bit.
weird I always like my hand I'm like and then but on the flip side, when it's in the winter and he comes home and he comes upstairs, I keep it really warm. And I just got
Hmm.
back from a CEO retreat where I take myself 4 times a year to a hotel and stay alone and you know
Yes.
everybody needs that. But I had a technical issue with the TV and someone had to come in to fix it. And and I kind of giggled because he started to sweat. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, I keep things warm because I work better when I'm warm.
Yes.
Now I don't have to be like
Yeah.
hot, but like if I'm cold,
Right.
all I focus on is the cold. So I'm like, so sorry, buddy. Like, I'm so sorry, but it was all
Yes.
good. It was
That's
all
funny.
good. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm
Well,
so
when you're
glad to
sitting
hear.
still, you don't
Yeah,
generate a lot of heat, right? We sit
that's
still
true.
all the time.
That's true.
So, yeah, you can really get cool pretty quickly because we're not up moving around.
No, and Jen, I know I believe I texted you this. I think I did. This CEO retreat for authors out there who are listening in. I mean, I wrote and edited and tweaked 26,000 words. Like,
I
how is
love
this
it. I
possible?
love it. That's
I know.
fantastic. And
I know.
sometimes authors, you just need some time away without distractions to just get into it and spend some time on it. And you were primed and ready to go. You knew what you were going to write. You had a lot of content there. So that is just fantastic. I love it.
I know. I'm so excited. And actually, today, when we talk about doing a little book glimpse, well, actually, I'll start with it instead of like waiting to the end. I was going to do a one liner from the book I'm writing that is planning on, well, I'm not even going to say, planning on coming out soon. I'll keep you all posted. But one of the one liners that I just wanted to share comes from a chapter that I talk about how when is your one day, right? Like everybody says one day I'm going to do this, one day I'll do that. When is it? Because that one day can be right now, it could be today.
Right.
And I share one sentence and I say I never wanted more until it happened. And I want
Mm,
you as a author to kind of rest in this. Part of my journey is I didn't even know I wanted to write a book, Jen. Like that was I never really
right.
wanted to. That wasn't on my to-do list.
Yeah.
And yet I didn't know that I wanted that and I wanted more and I could share more until it happened. And it's a beautiful thing that books provide for that reason.
Yes, they do. I was talking to a lady yesterday and she said very similar thing. She goes, I just wanted to share stories. I didn't necessarily want to be a writer. And I'm like, and yet look at where you are.
Yeah, and look at where you are. How many books are we at? I mean, you're on 16 and counting, right?
Yeah, I'm writing number 17 right now.
Gosh, Jen. I always say it's a chronic problem. If you're going to be addicted to something, writing a book is a thing. That's the great thing to be addicted
It's
to.
it's a it's a good thing to be addicted to. Yes.
It
Yes.
is, and it's so cathartic as the author to for me, that is a way I process life.
Yes.
I also, I'm not sure I've shared this widely, but I will share this because I think it's interesting. Was chatting yesterday with a publisher and we got talking about things in life and what have you, and I shared with her a medical condition I was recently diagnosed with, and she goes, that's a book. I'm like, no. And she's like, that's a book. And I thought, see, you don't
Mm,
even realize things in your life that
mhm.
could inspire people. And as I shared my
Yes.
story with her, she was able to identify a dear friend in her life who has had similar symptoms that took me
Mhm.
years to uncover what it really was.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, yeah, you're probably right. But see, I didn't even think that that story could have impact and value on someone else. And yet that is what books do.
They do. It's a great way to encourage other people and to share what you've been through. You can help other people shortcut processes like that, to not feel alone,
Yeah.
to feel like somebody is with them. That is just, it's a fantastic
Mhm.
thing to share.
Agreed. Well, what's your mug look like? Have I showed you this one?
I
Have I showed you this
No,
one?
that one's cute. Look
Oh,
at the ladybug. Look at
I
the well,
know.
I've gone through all my mugs, so now I'm back to my clear ones.
I like it.
Um, I do actually really like these.
I love it.
But this is cinnamon spice iced tea because it's hot.
Ooh,
I'll
yum.
bring you when I come visit you. I will bring you a packet of it. It's really yummy. It's good hot. It's good cold. I really love it. So, anyways, I'm drinking iced tea.
Oh, that looks amazing. Well, I'm doing
It's
my
really
chai
good.
tea, obviously, but when I went and pulled out
I
mugs
love that.
today, I pulled out this one, and it's so cute. It has
Love
these
it.
ladybugs,
I
and
love that.
I will never forget. This one comes with a story. When I used to work for a national nonprofit, we would go to a conference regularly or go to meetings and what have you. And because we were a nonprofit, we had many times we had to bunk with someone else, right? Like, so our hotel stay, we would do it with other people. And I had a friend that her and I would share a hotel room during these conferences. This was the first time we had shared a hotel room. So we didn't quite know each other to the point that like we quickly got to know each other, because we walked in and we're laying, like, I'm laying in my bed, she's laying in hers. We're like looking at the ceiling, like soaking in the moment. And I go, ah, and she's like, what? And I look up and there's like a gazillion ladybugs all over the hotel room. And I'm like, wait, this is not okay. Like, I don't think I could sleep with these ladybugs.
I
Like, they're
mean,
gonna
I
get me.
I like ladybugs, but I
I
don't
do
really want
too.
to share a hotel room
I
with
don't want to
them.
either. No. And so we looked around. I'm like, surely there's just a couple up there. And then I look over my pillow and one's crawling. I'm like,
No.
Nancy, we must switch rooms. And we did. And so I think it was for Christmas that year, a couple months later, whatever, she mailed me my
I love
ladybug
it.
mug. And to this day, she calls me Ladybug. She's
I
like, hey,
love it.
how's my ladybug? It's so sweet. I have yet to tell her that we actually had
Oh,
an infestation of ladybugs in our house. And I found that there's different types of ladybugs. There's the good ones
there
and the not
are.
so good ones. The
Yes.
not so good
Yeah.
ones showed up last year, but we fixed it.
Ooh,
Yeah. So I
yeah.
always smile when I think of this mug because I think of my dear friend Nancy, who taught me so much about life and living and perseverance and power of messages and stories and love and all these things. So I just love how people come into your life at certain places and leave a lasting impact.
Yes, and I think that's one of the cool things about mugs is they have
Mhm.
these little memories, and every time you use them, whether it's a mug or a
Yeah.
plate or something
Mhm.
that you use regularly, it reminds you of the person who gave it to you, it reminds you of the story,
Yeah.
and I love things that have meaning. I don't like a ton of stuff, and I
Mm-mm.
don't
Mm-mm.
need a ton of stuff. We
Mhm.
move a lot, so we tend to be
Yeah.
pretty, minimalist on things, except maybe for books, although I have gotten rid of a lot of books in my life. But I love to have things that have meaning, that
Mhm.
remind me of a memory or something like that. I mean, this is why, like, when your kids are little, right? You'll get like the Mother's Day mugs or
Mhm.
the plates with their
Mhm.
handprints on it. Like, you don't throw that stuff away. You keep it
No,
because of the memories, right?
you
So,
do. And
I love that. I love that kind of stuff.
do. Yeah, and it's just a reminder that visuals or things can have that connection and draw people in. And actually, that's a beautiful transition to our topic today
Yes.
on
Yes.
Amazon A plus content. So we're doing a whole
Uh-huh.
month on Amazon. And
Yeah.
not sure why it took us so long to get to that when I look at my calendar over here of all the months, because Amazon is a monopoly,
Essentially.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
yeah,
Essentially.
for books, for it's where people are going to buy books. I love bookstores. I will always love bookstores. I
Mhm.
will always support bookstores. And yet, if authors, you are not leveraging your Amazon platform, you're really missing out because that is where
Yes.
people buy books. Individuals, that's where individuals are going to buy books. So last week we talked about Author Central and how to navigate that process and take full advantage of it. If you haven't listened to that, go back. It's chock full of oodles of goodness. And today we're going to talk about Amazon A plus content. And Jen, I don't know about you, but I'm finding not very many people have awareness of A plus content.
Yes. this is a
Mhm.
great place to come in and get in there and have a little bit of advantage. I will say personally, I have A plus content on one series of my books, and I
Mhm.
don't have it on the others because I haven't had time to get in
Mhm.
there yet.
Oh, girl, I have
Um,
none on mine, but I do it for authors. So I know the
yeah.
importance, but it's the proof in the pudding of when this is what we do for a living, we get the last, we're on the back end of it all.
Yes. So
But
true. Right.
this is something that honestly every author we work with, it has become a cornerstone and a
Yes.
pivotal piece. So a couple of things before I attempt to share my screen and show you some A plus content I want to look at fiction and nonfiction. So I have some
Yes.
examples of two authors that I've had the chance to work with that I'd love to highlight today for that. But I want to acknowledge Amazon A plus content is a way to stick out amongst the gazillions of books out there. It's a visual
Yeah.
way to do that. There are some things you can and can't do. For instance, you aren't able to link from Amazon A plus content. Like you can't put a hyperlink to go somewhere else. Amazon does
Right.
not want you to leave their platform. You
Right.
also can't use like promotional statements or
Right.
things that could come across as not accurate. Sometimes they get a little touchy on if you use testimonials. If you're going to use a
Right.
testimonial, you want to make sure it includes attribution specifically. And these individuals, it can't just be, because my friend Jen said this. It needs to be Jen, the
Right.
owner of, la 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 la. You have to outline the
Right.
details, and it is built in modules, and you can
Yes.
get up to 5 modules. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the other thing I want to note is depending upon your publishing approach, you may or may not be able to take advantage of this. So if you
Right.
publish through a different platform like Ingram Spark exclusively, unfortunately, it will not unlock this on
Right.
Amazon. You have
You
to
have to have an
also
Amazon account.
you do.
Yeah.
You have to have an Amazon account. You do it on the back end through KDP. And
Mhm.
some authors, for instance, have like their ebook on Amazon, but their paperback's distributed elsewhere. Well, then this can only connect to your ebook. If all of what you're doing has publishing, if you're publishing all of your book variations through Amazon, you can connect this content to all of your books ASIN, which is Amazon's version of ISBNs and wow, all these acronyms, Jen, right? But I just want to
Yes.
acknowledge that if you notice, well, why can it only go to this and not that, or what have you? That's why it is a
Yeah.
benefit for authors who publish through KDP
Right.
and to take full advantage of it. What am I missing, Jen, while I'm figuring out how to
No, I
share my
think that's
screen?
that's great. It really is very stark when you go into the dashboard, and it looks like, what do I do here?
Yep,
And I
yep,
think if once you've played with it a little bit, you've seen some examples. You're going to create most of the content in your graphics program. Like
yep,
in the KDP A plus, it'll say, you can put an image, and then it'll say you can put text on it.
yep.
Don't mess with their tools. Just create it the way you want in your graphic and then just upload it into the little modules. But you can
Absolutely.
sort the modules, you can play around with it. If you're fiction, you might do one kind of thing, but the nice thing is, like
Yep.
what I've done in mine, it's part of a series, right? So this page will just highlight the book, but at the bottom I can have a graphic that says,
Mhm.
here's all the books in this series.
Mhm.
So you can do a little cross promo that way.
Mhm.
In nonfiction, you can pull out statistics or things you want to
Mhm.
highlight, benefits. There's lots
Mhm.
of wonderful ways. It's additional information presented to your reader in a more visual format. So, take advantage of that.
Yep.
And also know that Amazon will have to approve it before it goes live.
Yep.
But I think it's a great way to just, again, stand out and to
Yep.
present more information to your reader. So if you have access to it, definitely use it
Mhm.
for sure. And you
Yeah.
can change it once you put it up if you like, I
Yes.
want to do something different. Totally
Can
change it.
change it
Yeah.
easy. Absolutely. So I'm not going to show us the house. I'm not going into KDP and walking through the house
Right.
today. If that's something you want help with, either Jen and I can help you for sure.
Yeah.
But I want to show you the benefit on the flip side, what it looks like. And I also
Yes.
I want to help you think through as a marketer, how I think of using this. The other
Yes.
thing before I dive in, I want to ensure a couple things. Your book has a brand identity.
Yeah.
The cover does that. The messaging within it does that. And you as an author likely have your own author brand identity. Depending upon what the book is about, you may lend to using the graphics to speak a bit more to your author brand or your book brand or somewhere in between. But just throwing stuff up without the brand, you're missing an opportunity. So we don't want to, we don't
Yes.
play like that.
No.
We
Be
don't play like
consistent with your brand for sure.
that.
For sure.
Yes. Okay. So let me pull
And I
up.
think for most people, once you see some examples of the options, then when you
Yep.
go to do it for yourself, it will be a little bit better. Oh, I have not seen the cover for this book. I
Jen,
love it. That is
is it not
fantastic.
gorgeous? Isn't it not
That's
gorgeous?
great. Oh, that's great. That really
Right?
fits the story so much. How
Well,
fun.
I flippin' love this book. Listen for
Isn't that a
Water
great book?
is a right. It's a book that Marie Beswick Arthur that wrote. This was the first book she wrote that she was for her. She's a ghostwriter and has written a ton of other books. They're beautiful, but this cover is just stunning, and it really created a beautiful storyline for the Amazon A plus content. So Jen, you got to be a part of the editorial process or the editing process for her.
Fun.
I got to be a part of the marketing for her. So I love Marie. She's just stunning. So we're on her page. Just so you know, this is a fiction author. So we'll speak to the fiction space a little bit. Most people here, you get to look at all the description, all that's great. And many times it stops there, but it doesn't have to. If you have access to Amazon A plus content, if you are published through Amazon, you're able to then add this extra section. And this, I'll show you a high overview of how we've extended the brand and how it just
Love it.
it just makes you stick out a little bit differently. So from a fiction standpoint, actually, before we dive in, every module looks different. So like this is a module, this is a module, this is a module, this one and this one. So you can see the 5. And you do not have to leverage it in this way. But in theory, this process is a way that I think makes a strong fiction process on leveraging all 5 modules. For her, we started with a little glimpse inside the book, right? And I would encourage you to look at your Amazon A plus content as a value add from the description, not just the description, right? They can already read that. What else can they get? So here we pulled out a little blurb of the book that was really interesting and spoke a bit to what the book is about. And this book is just awesome. Plus her book is Listen for Water. Obviously there's a water element. So we included graphic elements that had this water vibe in it. And Jen, I'm just going through it, but you jump in if anything is inspired.
No, I love this. I love this. I love that you're taking the cover, but it's a cover plus, right? It's not, you're not just putting the cover back up there. You're taking elements from it back to the branding, the colors, the graphical elements. They all are very consistent with the branding, and you're giving more information. If I'm curious about this book and I want to know more, this is what this does. It gives me more, and I love it. The little snapshots. And you could rearrange these in different orders if you wanted to, but I love how this is telling a story. And that's exactly kind of what you want your A plus content to do.
Yeah, this is actually my favorite part of hers because typically I like, and you'll see when we look at nonfiction, I like authors to think about what are 3 things that are 3 takeaways. Like what are 3 things an author is or a reader is going to get and go, oh, this is awesome. I want to know this. In the fiction space for her, we tackled it a little bit differently. And these are from 3 perspectives. So from the author's perspective, here's a little blurb. And then she has 2 main characters in it. And this is a little bit about each character. So you get a character glimpse into kind of the essence of the book. The book has, I mean, there's so many layers. I don't want to give any of it away, Jen, but this gives a chance for people to go, listen, like, what am I gonna feel throughout this book? I also love, even though there's about the author section already on Amazon, incorporating it in here is so important because we want people to feel you and be a part of you. And then these are attributions or praise or the endorsement and review kind of elements we've already talked about, Jen. This is where you pulled those out and acknowledged in here a couple of things, a couple of key takeaways, what people loved. So you can
Love
see how
that.
like this just gives a whole different vibe than if you just
Yeah.
stop here, right?
Right. Yes. You just get
Okay.
a fuller picture. And I
You
think that's great
do.
for people,
Right.
that want to have a deeper dive. And especially
Mhm.
if you've probably done this too, you've gone
Mhm.
in and looked at a book and then you've kind of fallen down that rabbit hole. I want to know more about the author. What else have they written? This is a
Exactly.
great way to attract those people that have the potential to be your super fans and
Yep.
give them all of that extra info that they really love.
Absolutely. So I'm going to pivot over to this book. So this is a nonfiction book, and Jen, from my perspective, we tend at Empower PR Group, we tend to work with more nonfiction than fiction authors,
Right.
and there's a methodology that I would encourage a nonfiction author to navigate and leverage their Amazon A+ for. So, Mom on Wheels, love this author, love this message of this amazing woman who has undergone so much struggle and found triumph through it. She's just a beautiful soul. And her book is amazing. I recommend both of these books. Absolutely. We leverage on this one the same kind of, you'll notice the same themes, but I want you as a nonfiction author to be thinking about this. So we started with a quote, either a quote from her book, or for other authors, it might be a quote from somebody who is well known in a space or a niche that you want to speak to that acknowledges the value of your book. So her book has to do with a car wreck. So you will notice that we have some subtleties with the car elements and the
Mhm.
brand, the book brand building out. Again, we identify what are three things you're going to walk away from in the book. So in the nonfiction space, this is really important because it will speak additional depth to what your description is. And this talks about things that potentially we weren't able to capture in the description. So for her, there was a lot. And I actually intentionally did it in this order because she went through some
Mhm.
struggle and ended with this concept of how love triumphs
Yes.
everything. And then obviously, please incorporate your photo. And I
Mm,
love Marjorie's photo shoots because she did
mhm.
it, and it just happened to be a beautiful blend of her book message too. So it's just so beautiful.
Yes.
I
Perfect.
love it. We also included testimonials. I do think that you need them, but you will notice for her,
Yes.
we added another section, and this is how do you work with me? So for many nonfiction authors,
Yes.
the book is the beginning of something bigger.
Yes.
So I want you to just not lose sight of the fact that you can acknowledge in your Amazon A+ content ways that people can engage and connect with you. And Marjorie is a professional speaker. So this is an opportunity for us to acknowledge that. And some of the messages she might talk about. What I would have loved to do is to provide a link to our website, but Amazon's A+
You
content doesn't
can't.
allow that, right? So we
I
just want to
know.
like get people excited about it and, be able
Yes.
to encourage them to do a little bit more. So, I mean, I know
Love
that
that.
that's just like scratching the surface of Amazon A+
Mhm.
content, but it is readily accessible at your fingertips. And if you are
Yes.
not using it, and or if your publisher's not using it, so authors out there who are using a traditional publisher or a hybrid publisher, you can very easily ask them to leverage this as well. Like
Yes. It's so
inspire them to
important.
take advantage of it too.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise, you're just leaving an opportunity out there on the table. And so I think it's really fantastic. I love that how to work with me for nonfiction people. This is great. You usually have that in the back of your book as your conclusion. Here's how we can continue to go forward. I love pulling that out and putting that on your A+ content. That's fantastic.
Yep. And I think fiction authors can do that too, Jen. So it's
Oh,
really,
absolutely.
yes, take a step back and think, what's the journey I want someone to go through? What's the experience I want
Yeah.
them to get? How can I do that visually and help share
Yes.
that
For
story?
fiction, I love highlighting the characters. I love highlighting if it's
Mhm,
a series. I've seen a
mhm.
lot in the romance
Yes,
space.
I
Like,
love the
for example,
series.
series is each book is a different brother, right? So in each one of those squares, you could have a
Exactly.
different brother and a different quote about them. So people are
Exactly.
excited. Oh, I got to read this whole series because I don't want to just read one book. I want to read all of them. So you want to give them that sense of this is the experience that you're coming into. This is the world you're coming into. If you're
Mhm,
writing sci-fi and fantasy where the world is a big part of that,
mhm,
highlight that. Tell us as
mhm,
a reader, what kind of world are we going to be entering into?
mhm,
There's a lot of fun
mhm,
ways out there, and I like to find
mhm.
other authors who've done it. There's some that
Yes.
do some super creative stuff, and go out there and get inspired. I take screenshots and I have a little folder and just get inspired by what other people are doing and then have fun with it. If you have a graphic designer that you work with, let them know and give them some ideas and let them run with it. And it can be a really great thing to
Yes.
leverage.
Or feel free to give us a call. The Empower PR group,
Yes.
absolutely. It's actually one of my favorite things that we can do to help an author. And so if you want any insights there, you just give us a call and we're happy to help. Jen, what are we talking about
Yes.
next week? We're continuing our Amazon,
Well,
right?
are we going to talk about the affiliate program
I
next
think
week?
we should. I think we should.
Okay, we'll talk about the affiliate program next week.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
And
another little thing that authors can actually take advantage of.
mhm, mhm.
Amazon can pay
Yes.
you.
I know, to promote your book, but that we're not gonna
Yeah.
we're not gonna go too
Talk
deep
about
yet. If there are other Amazon questions you have, though, let us know. Jen and I would be so
Yes.
happy to
We
share
would love to talk about them.
additional thoughts. Yes, so be sure to either comment here or shoot us a message on a DM on LinkedIn. We'd be more than happy to chat
Yes,
about it.
for
Awesome.
sure.
Okay, Jen, I love how you do our closing. You're just forever going to be our closer.
A closer. All right. Well, authors, your words have power and your message has power and your book has power. So take that to the page and beyond with me and Stephanie as we help you launch your book out into the world and make an impact.
Yes, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next Wednesday, 11:30
Okay.
Eastern.
All
Bye.
right. Bye bye.